everybody, and welcome to our very first The Current. I am so delighted to be here with my glorious friend Lawrence. My name is Haley Curtis, for those who don't know me, and we are two Gene Keys guides who are just in love with this transmission. And through our shared love of this transmission, we have decided to have these really rich, deep conversations of weaving our passion and love for the gene keys into our real lives and the real world. And we just thought that YouTube would be a great place to share those conversations. And so
Mm.
it is such a delight to be with you, Lawrence. And Lawrence is going to say hello, and then just we're going to do a very short attunement to set the tone of this space, and head on our adventure together in the
Yeah.
current. And I'm also
Yeah.
going to just quickly hit record on the end of Zoom, Lawrence, so that we can have this for our own keeping as well, because it's a very special moment. But if you would like to, yeah, say hello, introduce yourself, and let's attune the space.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, my name's Lawrence Mack. I'm a Gene Keys guide. By the way, you should sell something. We have to talk about that afterwards, but you were just like a great. I feel the heart marketing in you like so deeply. And yeah, this is technically not the first current, but the fifth.
Mhm,
We have four we got to carry over from Instagram, but this is our first on YouTube,
mhm,
which is delightful. So. Yeah, for this one, or maybe going forward, just feeling on coming in to a place of quiet inside yourself, whatever that feels like, whatever that looks like. Um, I think an attunement is a creative space.
mhm,
And for me, I always find it just like coming back to just the most simple of attunements, which is just touching a moment of quiet inside myself. Which I think is apt because we are in the 24th gene key, right?
mhm.
We just moved in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 hours ago, the pulse shifted. So
Mm.
what a what a beautiful pulse to be in of, inventiveness, but to honor the fact that our inventiveness comes from the silence. You know,
Hmm. Mm.
inventiveness is silence in action, and that is a delicious place to ponder.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about silence. It has so many dimensions,
Mm,
really, because it's like, yeah, I guess this kind of goes on par with what we wanted to do with like the fractal
hmm
uh conversation that's been kind of peeking through. And I think it ties into um well, into everything in some ways. But yeah, I was talking with my partner earlier today about how like as a society we don't like praise silence enough, you know,
mm,
especially in the face of like harshness and suffering. It's like
mm,
if you're like silence is looked on as complacency,
mm,
and also at the same time it's like, if we are totally silent, then the world speaks for us.
mm.
And the world says some crazy shit, as do I. But it's like, um, yeah, and it's the 24 and 44. Am I
Mm.
wrong on that?
No, 24/44, the
Yeah.
program.
I was like, why does this rhyme to me internally? But I can't figure out where.
Oh, somebody is saying hello to us. Oh, it's
Oh,
Jackie. Hello, Jackie.
Jackie is the
Uh,
best. Nice team. Thank you.
Amazing. The fractal is gathering.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like how you say the 44. So like today we thought that a great first video on YouTube, even though like you said, we've done a few leading up to this. We really did. We wanted to talk about fractals and the magic of fractal. And because the idea of fractal is really the driving force behind why we decided to do this in the first place. You know,
Mm,
this idea of us feeling magnetized towards each other through the fractal, but then as we talked more with each other about what a collaboration could look like, we both, our hearts really sparked at the idea of placing these conversations that are so authentic to our hearts and souls and to talk about what's currently alive for us as a way to speak to our fractal, as a way
mm,
to send that magnetism out into the ethers and
mm,
to allow more of us to gather around what we feel drawn to, what we feel pulled to. And so, yeah, the 24 being the programming partner of the 44, which is teamwork and synarchy. I mean, that synarchy is the highest expression of what we would hope to be able to dwell in because of fractal magic. And so, I mean, I'd love to ask you the question, Lawrence, because this whole thing that we are here doing right now, live on YouTube, started through you flicking me an Instagram message being like, would you be open to collaborating? I would love to hear from you. Like, what does that fractal pull kind of feel like inside of you? How, like, what is it like when you know that life is tugging at you for, this greater fractal reason?
mm.
I'd love to ask you that question.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day actually, and I guess it ties in really great because I actually had the idea. Well, I like just finished my website, my like guide website, and I could feel that like I wanted to do something with the Gene Keys this year, like something more of an offering or a project or whatever. And for whatever reason, I was like, huh. Um, like whatever I was trying to like kind of like was like fizzling out or I didn't feel like super attracted to it. And I was in a have you ever done the sensory deprivation float?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I've done a
But
few.
it's like peak silence and there's
Mm,
like I really enjoy it because you're just, you can stretch and because the water is full of salt, so it's like you're
mm,
totally floating. It's pitch black, silent. I do silent, so it's like where I
mm.
go sometimes, especially because we live in the city here in Denver, to go and get like really quiet. And I was laying in the float tank, and I was just like, from the silence, was just like, I don't know, maybe Haley would want to do something, you know?
Mm.
And uh yeah, so like shortly after that, I just like reached out. But I guess like what the deeper current is, uh it, it's like who's in your fractal? It's like, I don't know, you have to go invent it, really. It starts with the point of invention inside yourself. It's like, who do I want to freaking kick it with in this life, you know? And I actually posted something on my Instagram today, or like reposted on my story. It's like um, like there are contracts you made, promises you made with other souls to like find each other when it's time to wake up.
Oh.
And a lot of people were like really digging that. I was like, oh, everybody likes this on my story today. But I was like, yeah, it's like I was like, I don't know what to say. It just like hits
Mm,
because it's really it's a frequency thing, finding your
mm,
fractal.
mhm,
And part of the magic that the gene keys illuminates is like seeing how your fractal is so decentralized
Yeah.
across the planet.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the end of the day, like synarchy is, to me, it's just like the hierarchy of love.
Mm.
So, which you could say is no hierarchy, but um, it's kind of like the order, the implicate order
Mm.
of life is
Mm.
always like leaning towards love. So,
It's beautiful.
or moving towards love. So,
Mm. And we're in such a
uh,
unique time in our history as well, where, our fractal has always been across the earth, but it's all been in that frequency, right? Whereas we're in a very unique time in our history where the fractal that is on the other side of the earth, we can literally be here together in
right.
conversation,
Yeah.
talking in this way. Me in Perth, Western Australia, you in Denver, Colorado, or is it Colorado, Denver? Denver, Colorado. Denver's the city, right? And
Denver's the
Colorado's the
city.
state.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. And
Well,
you
I'm
can
a
be
mess at
there.
geology as well as like, or geography as well. See, oh my God.
Yes, how's your
Ah.
Australian geography, Lawrence?
I don't know. We missed times
And
like
we missed time
at
zone.
least, yeah.
But I think
Uh,
that that's such an exciting thing about fractal magic at the moment is that we're in a very unique position where we actually get to be in communication with so much more of our fractal than we ever had the opportunity to before the internet, before social
right.
media. And so, of course, social media and the internet comes with all of its shadow nature, but it also comes with this beautiful increase in the ability to not only trust in the fact that your fractal are there, but to actually find them and to actually come into communication with them, and in doing so amplify
Hmm.
the power of the mission that runs through that fractal, and like I think of since I since I started putting myself out there, which I'm sure we're going to get into this whole idea of um, the pathway of initiative that leads into the culture that magnetizes the fractal. And I know that we're going to talk about magnetism as well today through the Gene Key 15. It makes me think of like 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago almost, is when I started putting myself out there through this passion that I have in my heart and started taking the initiative. And the people that I have come into contact with, the fractal that has made its way through and been magnetized over those 5 years is would have been incomprehensible to me 5 years ago. Like
Hmm.
the soul family that I feel so anchored in of souls from every corner of the globe,
Hmm.
across Europe and across the Americas and across Australia and New Zealand and all like through Asia, there are pieces of my fractal that I feel as my soul family that I know that I could fly across the world and go and stay at their house as part of the
Hmm.
family next week. That is the
Hmm.
magic in that, I think, is so profound. And I never want to forget I never want to forget how special that is. I don't want that to just be, oh, that's just normal. No, that's high purpose at play.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
well, first hold on, let's I was gonna ask you
Mm,
how do you define a fractal for somebody who might
mm. Well,
I can take it.
I would define a fractal by a feeling where
Okay.
I
Yeah.
always kind of consent. So to me, fractal, the simplest definition would be soul family, right?
Okay.
And like you said about like that soul contract that
Hmm.
kind of is embedded into our DNA and into our life path. When I have a connection with someone that is soul family, it feels different. It's that
Mm.
feeling of, holy shit, I feel like I've known you for a lifetime. Like the first time that we jumped on Zoom together to just chat and we talked for like 2.5 hours. And I was like, oh my God, like Lawrence feels like my brother.
Yeah.
That's fractal.
Yeah, yeah.
Or when you hear someone speak and it speaks into the fabric of your soul. Like the first
Mm-hmm.
time I heard Richard Rudd speak, and I was just like, he is writing what is imprinted on my soul. That's
Sure.
fractal. That's
Yeah.
fractal. There's some people that I can feel inspired by, and like, it's not about people outside your fractal that you hate them or that they're worthless to you or anything like that, because at the end of the day, it's all about the interconnectedness between all fractals. And I believe that one fractal connects to another, sort of like the codon rings, how one codon ring connects to the next codon ring through the programming partner. I kind of see fractals working in that way, but there is
Mm.
definitely this essence of core missions through certain fractals that you are destined to come together, because higher purpose is never accessed in isolation. And
Sure.
our fractal is like that representation of the culture gene key, which is how we bring our vocation into the world. Our vocation isn't to be brought into the world alone. Yes, you might have a line one there, and it might be, and you might have a line one in your culture. And yes, there is a lot of this individual work, but we need each other. Our fractal is as much the people that we collaborate with as they are the people that receive our magic and the people whose magic we receive. Like when we really broaden our lens in terms of higher purpose and evolution and transformation and awakening, it moves through fractals. And
Sure.
so this opening up to
Mm.
the fractal, this trust in the fact that the fractal even exists in the first place, and then trusting in the energy and the frequencies and the way that it makes its way more and more into your life. Yeah, that's how I would define fractal. What about you?
I think that's great. I'm just gonna take that in for 1 second. It's definitely yeah, it's definitely registered as a feeling,
Mm,
um, a remembering in many ways. It's like a core memory, but it's in like a human, you know? And uh really, I mean, in a more like uh maybe like scientific way, like a fractal is like fractalology is like um the study or the occurrence of like the same patterns repeating within nature. So it's
mm,
like you look at the middle of a grapefruit and you also see a nebula, you know? And
mm,
it's like this blueprint that life has within itself that is visible at every turn. So it's like where you go in every part of the whole, there is the blueprint
mhm,
for the whole.
mhm,
So, and that's kind of like what we mean in the gene keys too when we say holographic,
mhm,
is that every part contains the whole, um, which I think is important as we get deeper into this fractal conversation, just to say. Um, but it's like everything, and especially that 44th gene key and this 24th gene key, like we can all trace our fractals essentially back to three primary fractals, um, which we call or can call source codes. So every time we hint or like pick up on somebody else in our fractal, it's like we're also sensing like a deeper unity from which consciousness itself is. So uh, you say that is born from silence, but then again, it's not really born. And then you can say nature has an order to things, but then you look around and it's just absolute chaos, you know? So it's like, how am I supposed to find my fractal in all this like seeming chaos? Um, but it's exactly like, at least in my experience, it's like that search and that recognition of um, this transmission. It's like you were saying in the culture, it's like not, it doesn't flourish in isolation, but it is definitely found in solitude at some point and then
Hmm.
spirals out from there. So, um, I'm
Delicious.
trying to think what I was like writing about for the 44 Chinky. I was talking about chess. I don't know why. It was like the queendom. And I was talking about chess because like there's such a strategic order to the board, but it's also like, you know, um, like I think one of the deepest magics in viewing life or accepting like that there is an organization beneath the surface um, of nature of life is that it really like connects you to or it erases the levels. There's like hierarchy. It's
Mm.
like it moves from like hierarchy to organization. So it's like, I can meet um what's a good example of this? It's just like a level, it levels people at the soul, you know? It's like once you come and you start and you look at somebody at the level of the soul, suddenly the the field in which you guys are interacting is flat, no matter what
Mm.
status or roles that you hold in
Hmm.
life. So, and then there is an opportunity to invent something really, really special,
Mm.
I think. Um,
Yes. Beautiful.
once
Hierarchy,
you,
fractals are always hierarchies when you're like truly in that trust of the fractal magic and the frequency of it. Like you said, that master plan that runs underneath. It really does. It dissolves that idea of where do I fit in this group of people. It's just that we are a fractal. Just like you said, it's the repetition, just like in a flower. It's not like there is a hierarchy of petals in that flower. There is
right.
simply the petals that have like that have come out. Like that's a beautiful aspect of fractal is that dissolving of hierarchy. And I think that that is something that at this point in time we are being welcomed into through as we're exploring the transmission of the gene keys, as we're exploring like what does this actually look like in practice,
Hmm.
and through the gene keys transmission, as we are kind of embracing these teachings around the frequencies and how you even find your fractal in the first place, and then it becomes about the dismantling of the fears that come with coming together in that way. And um, as you step out more and more and you magnetize more of your fractal, you are then gifted these beautiful opportunities to discover like what does that even feel like? What does that even look like to
Hmm.
move in hierarchy? These are pieces of the fractal magic that get my soul so excited, and things that I've spent the majority of my freaking existence contemplating. Like I, out of all things that I contemplate, I feel like fractal is one of those ones that is just so continuous because it's a continual
Hmm.
invitation into more of higher purpose. I feel like a great kind of question, a thread off of what we're talking about in terms of like what are fractals? How do we magnetize our fractal? Like, what does that look like? Throwing it over to you, Mr. Gene Key 15, been contemplating this for weeks.
Oh, like through the lens of the 15?
Well, I mean, I
Well,
think it's a
yeah,
beautiful one to look at since like we really do magnetize our fractal.
sure. I might be the wrong person to ask about this. I went into the weeds. Let me ask you this. How do you fit into the Gene Keys as a coffee lover? I'm also a coffee lover. I'm going somewhere with this.
Oh, instead of being a tea lover.
Yeah.
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with coffee myself.
Right.
I think that the things that we love on the material realm, fractal goes beyond that.
Right. Well, I
You
think it's like it was a subtle hint as like at like authenticity, you know? It's like
mm,
usually we meet a group of people that, you know, we meet the qualities or we're attracted to the qualities, either unconsciously or consciously, that we would like to integrate ourselves. Or
mm,
at some level, it's like nothing terrifies us more than like what we're repressing inside ourselves, you know? So naturally, like in the
mm,
laws of magnetism, like we are attracted to the opposite, you know?
mm,
That's what it looks
mm,
like on the surface. But
mm,
really, what we are, at least through this lens, is like we're attracted through this kind of lens of the fractal, you know? This uh, program or these group of souls or this frequency that we're attracted to, it's like we meet what we think we are lacking only to find out that it was alive inside us the entire time.
that's
And it's
beautiful.
like, we, you don't have to do anything to find your fractal. It's probably already in front of your face, you know? It is in front of, like, especially if we look at it in the lens of like your family, you know,
Mm,
that is core, essential to your karmic predicament
mm,
and our everyone's karmic predicament, you know? It's like no matter
mm.
what, you can't uh erase your origin, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So
And I think that you
uh
speak to something important in what you said there
glad
around
I'm glad I
how
did because I didn't know where I was going.
how when so how you were saying that we see something in another that we're attracted to, like feeling like oh, I yearn for more of that in myself to find that like it was in you all along type of thing, right? So we become magnetized to people in the way that they're living their life, right? Where there's
Mhm.
something in the way that they're living that our soul is just drawn to, right?
Mhm.
And that, I think, speaks to something very important. The person being drawn to it, it all it took for them was to witness it, to see it. Like it's the frequencies working underneath everything that who knows what causes you to end up seeing a video or hearing a podcast or even crossing someone in the street that you have that feeling with. Like that's all mystical and everything underneath. But it did take that person who you felt magnetized towards it is a result of that person living in some sort of boldness, that person living in some sort of um, courage. I think that courage is essential when it comes to fractal, right? And that person that we're magnetized towards, we are magnetized towards like they had to have the courage to actually allow themselves to be seen in the thing that they were passionate about or boldly kind of presenting themselves to the world in. And that's where it makes me think of Gene Key 15 in terms of magnetism and then the shadow of dullness. Like right at the start of that audio, Richard talks about like dullness is the comfort of the crowd. And it's even cowardice, where we're like, oh no, just stay in the comfort of the crowd. I won't follow that thing that my heart is tugging me towards. I won't show the world how fucking fired up or frothy I am about this thing. I'll just stay in the comfort of the crowd. And staying in the comfort of the crowd is dull, it has got no polarity and it can't magnetize. And so
Mm-hmm.
that person that was attracted to someone just being in their authenticity um, it dulls. And so, like dullness without the polarity, you don't have the magnetism to attract the fractal. So, like, there is part of fractal that absolutely is about you don't have to do anything, like, your fractal is there, but someone has to do something. Someone has to, sometimes we're the one that gets attracted, and sometimes we're the one doing the attracting.
Sure.
And I think there is that beautiful, like, interplay in terms of the 15.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, like magnetism can sound like a passive gift, right? And it kind
Mm,
of is in some sense, like when you hit or like consider it in yourself, like what you are drawn to is almost uncontrollable at
natural.
some level, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
natural, right? The
natural. Yeah,
programming
yeah.
partner.
But there's also like the opportunity for trouble because dullness can also feel like supernatural, you know? The
Mm,
comfort can feel incredibly natural
mm,
because we um or like life has a way of getting us to fit in and
mhm,
mm, yeah, it's like to me it helps realize like magnetism itself is not possible. Well, again, the science here, but it's also like hinged really strongly to like electricity.
mhm,
So, and like when I think of like what electricity is, when you ask physics what electricity is, they kind of just have a way of pointing to the properties of what electricity causes, you know. Most of the time they're like speaking about charge. And then like
mm,
when you dig through the weeds a little bit, as I have been doing, it's like you find the same question. It's like no one really knows what electricity is the same way no one really knows what authenticity is or
mm,
exactly what genius is, you know, but it's like seated inside each one of us. And it's also, I believe, like explicitly like linked to like our inherent magnetism, which I settled on today as it's like your power, you know.
mm.
That is like uh that is like continues the magnetism, the absorption, um, to grow your field like even bigger, to grow your fractal even bigger, you know? And I think it's like the question, like to tie in what you were saying, is like, can I dare to be like my best self, you know? Because
Mm,
it's not in isolation either.
mm,
It's like any time that vibration like takes hold, like it ripples out. And everybody in your fractal also feels it, you know, which is
mm.
like why we heal for so many besides just ourselves. And specifically like our families, you know, our families feel it. Even
Yeah.
if it's not said, it doesn't even have to be said. It's just like felt.
Mm, mm, mm. And that's like where, like, I'm even feeling a connection to our last pulse, Jinky 27, from selfishness to altruism to selflessness.
Hmm.
How then when we look at the 15 around the courage to be yourself, the courage to, like, let your heart lead you, the courage to be in what naturally lights you up, because this is part of your unique magnetism. When we get stuck in the land of the fears of, oh, but what will people think of me? Or I'm afraid that I'm not going to belong. I'm afraid that people won't like it. I'm afraid that people will see it this way. And we get caught in the weeds of selfishness
Mm-hmm.
because even like when we're worried about what people will think of us if we're standing in the trueness of our heart, we're making it about us. Like I'm afraid of what they'll think of me instead of this higher frequency found in the 27 and then the higher frequency found in the 15 that is about this understanding of fractal. I think is so helpful. Like as I got to learn about fractal when the first time I did the pearl sequence, it shifted the way that I even saw service. It shifted the way that I saw like what I was even here to grow in the world,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that it's not this dream planted in my heart through our vocation, and our vocation is genetic, right? Our vocation is natural and our culture is nurture. And so this thing that is implanted in me, in my DNA, it's not just for me. This is
Mm-hmm.
for my fractal. And so to really approach what we're passionate about with that higher lens of selflessness, with that higher lens of altruism, of like, this is what I came here to share, not just so I can be prosperous and I can be happy and I can be fulfilled, but this is for my fractal. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
for my fractal and I remain anchored in that truth, it helps to start to dissolve all those fears around, but what might people think? And because when we move from that, when we sift our passion through the lens of what will people think, it dulls our expression. And when we dull our expression, when we try and talk to everybody, we end up talking to nobody. And
Sure.
when we try
Yeah.
to make everybody feel comfortable in how our passion meets the world, again, comfort is the dilemma of Gene Key 15. When we're trying to make everybody feel comfortable or trying to make ourselves feel comfortable, which is really what it's about. Self obsession is the programming partner of Gene Key 15. When we're like, I just want everybody to feel comfortable, what we're really saying is, I will feel more comfortable if everybody else feels comfortable.
Sure.
We dull the magnetism, and then we wonder why I don't seem to be able to find my fractal, or like I'm just not, I don't have people around me that understand me and all of these things. But we have to start sharing from that higher state of true altruism, of true
Mm-hmm.
service, of true passion first. And that's why it's called the pathway of initiative, that connects the vocation to the culture where we attract our fractal. You don't magnetize your fractal first and you're like, oh, okay, now I'm comfortable to speak from my passion because there's all these people around me that can validate me and understand me. Okay, now I'm finally going to speak from that passion. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people approach it around that way and then they're waiting forever. The
Right.
pathway of initiative is about like from that higher service that dares, and this is where courage is so important, has the courage to meet the world in your passion before there is anybody there who seems to give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the ripples go, and that's actually what magnetizes the fractal. And this doesn't have to mean that you're on a stage or you're on Instagram fucking dancing behind the camera making reels. It doesn't mean that you have to like, you know, oh, this is what it looks like to be courageous in my passion. Being courageous in your passion can happen in your, like for me in my little office on my own. Between me
Mm-hmm.
and me is where that passion begins. Like you were saying, it begins in that solitude, it begins in your DNA. And I can be in that fractal magic having a conversation with my family as much as when I'm posting or whatever on Instagram. This doesn't come in one box. Initiative is about how we meet life through the lens of the genetic fucking passion in our souls. That is the prerequisite for fractal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah. Uh one of my revelations when I was like digging through this, if you guys tune in, I've been writing these essays on the gift frequency um, over like the past year, been long, like a year and a half now, I guess. And essentially breaking each gift into a receptive and an active trait. Um, because as you in the gene keys, um, well, if you're watching this, you're in the gene keys, so I'll assume, in the shadow we have the repressive and the reactive. Um, and it's always thought to me, it's like, well, why wouldn't there be a receptive and active at the gift frequency? Um, and it's just something that like has always stood out to me ever since I like came across the gene keys. They uh, walked on me. It's more like it. And yeah, and so like to me, it feels very intuitive that that same kind of polarity would follow into the gift frequency because that's really like where I find my own genius occurring. Is through this dance between like life calling me towards action and life calling me to listen,
Mm.
and it's the receptive and the active. And for this 15th gene key, it was the receptive trait of grounded and the active trait of blooming, which is where I found a lot of that daring.
Wow.
Um, and inside each of those, um, what has come through is like for every receptive trait, it requires an art. For every active trait, it requires, or hidden inside them is a science. So you have like art and science, which is really like what this middle way through the gift frequency illuminates in many ways. But to speak what you were talking about is like it to loop it back, I was like writing through this blooming, I was like, oh, it's daring, and it's like Richard always speaks about how 80, 90% on the gift in the city. Like that's where we want to place our attention.
Mm.
And like 10, 20% of the shadow. And that's particularly because we humans have, a tendency to wallow in the in circles sometimes,
No,
right?
never.
But I was writing this and it was like what came through to me was like, oh, but like for the gift, it's the same, right? It's like
Mm.
actually, if I was going to take that same formula, that recipe is like, what's a recipe for like accessing your genius? It's like, okay, 80% on action,
Mm.
20% on the receptive.
Mm.
And it's like we have a way of discrediting, like just
Mm.
because that's the split doesn't mean that those are the proportions, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
without that, like those moments of like silence or like solitude and integration, like the action just like fizzles out and our
Mm.
magnetism dies. And then we do find ourselves attracting only what we don't want,
Mhm.
instead of like pulling us in closer to that, that tribe of genius that you find yourself connected to.
Mm.
But to me, like the gift of magnetism is like ready. It's powerful. It's like when I feel it inside myself as my own power, it's my own sexiness to
Mm.
attract and
Yeah.
allure, um, like a flower would, you know? Uh,
Mm.
and when it's your time to bloom, there is like nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop your fractal like coming together once like things have been set in motion. So,
Oh, that's beautiful.
um,
And like that grounded piece. Yesterday, I was on a call with some beautiful ladies in one of my groups, and we were like, okay, to finish off, we each took this. Richard says in the 27th Jinky, he's like, the city is the gift in action. And so we each like chose a random gene key from our charts and to look at what that looked like in action. And I chose the 15th, which is my culture gene key, and looking at fluorescence as magnetism as fluorescence in action.
mm,
And what you just said about the grounded and the blooming, what my reflection was kind of on the spot in that moment was that fluorescence in action is this understanding, this deep understanding that the energy that makes the flower bloom is the same energy in the plant when there's no flower there.
Sure.
That,
Yeah.
like a rose bush, when you cut it right back and it's just these little twigs and thorns, it
Hmm.
holds the same energy as when it's blooming. Like it's all in there, it's all in the roots. And so the grounding phase of a plant, or even just when you plant the seed, it can seem so dull because you look at it and you're like, man, it's ugly. And we can
Hmm.
discount the power in that phase of the cycle. But I feel like magnetism as fluorescence in action shows us that like the seed holds the bloom and the bloom holds the seed. And so now we can embrace all parts of that life cycle and all parts of ourselves where we're no longer writing ourselves off as like, I can only be magnetic when I'm in bloom. It's
Hmm.
like the bloom lives in all phases of the cycle,
Sure.
and that we don't discount our own magic or when we've cut the bush back. It's like, and you get to be present with wherever you are in the cycle. And so, like for you, talking about this huge body of work you've been writing, that is
Mm.
like the
It's been writing
incubation
me for sure.
been writing you've been in like it's in that seed phase, the womb phase of putting something together. But that phase is like it's that build up to the bloom that is so it holds so much magnetism
Mm.
even as it's being created.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah. I was like, part of my conundrum with it was like, I originally had it as blossoming. And then I was like halfway through and I was like, something like a voice came out. I was like, that's not right. Because the shadow is like blossoming, but you don't see
mm,
it until you're blooming, you know,
mm,
that's where you were. It's like everything was conspiring towards
mm.
that moment.
Yeah.
Everything was in motion. So the, yeah, and like fluorescence, I think of as like blooming everywhere at once. So
Mm,
for me, like I have this gene key in my pearl sphere, and I guess I go against the grain on it because Richard's always like, "Don't even just don't worry about that one. It'll
yeah.
come on its own time." And I feel that too because sometimes I can like I have this way of just like spinning seven plates at once, you know.
Mm,
And it's like I really feel that like in this moment, like I have these things that are like blossoming, but it's still like it's not the time for them to all bloom at the same time.
yeah.
And um, it's like when I was considering like what it means to be grounded through the gift of like magnetism, it's like you can think about it as like staying put, but actually like grounded is about picking a direction more
Mm,
than it is about like just staying still. And like
mm,
when you stay still, like because the underlying nature of nature is like always moving. It's like even though we don't think, because I guess like what kind of also keeps us in dullness too is like going back and forth between the poles, you know? And
mm,
like
mm.
there's a tendency to uh want to think about this gift. And I also have it like in through the star pearl, I have the sphere of creativity. I have 10.
Mhm.
So I have like this like uh
Mm.
this these programming partners. Um
Like always wanting to jump to the bloom, not honoring
right.
the grounded phase enough because it seems too ordinary and too dull. So it's like tries to jump to the bloom and it just rips you back into the ground again.
Right. Yeah, it's like the other side of dullness isn't just like comfort, it's
Mm.
like the
Escapism.
escapism, yeah. That's like how I feel this one. And
Yeah.
it's not even, I guess I'll turn this into a question to throw back at you. But it's like not so much that it's like actually when we're like going in this back and forth between poles, it's like we think we're like, what we're seeking and like do this ring of seeking. And it's like as even we like are pulled out towards the end of the pole, we're actually closer towards the other pole
Yeah.
because we're reaching for like what we're seeking, like
Mm-hmm.
we're closer to the turnaround point that's going to take us the other way,
Mm-hmm.
closer that we think we are getting towards like where we want to be. So
Yeah.
there's like something that happens, I think, in contemplation of this gift of magnetism where you do end up staying still, but you realize like the stillness has nothing to do with dullness. And then
Mm-hmm.
you end up going up. And it's not that like the polarity disappears, it's just that the poles are moving too. So it's like you have this like helical
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing going on, and you're like
Mm-hmm.
the third special coffee
Mm.
drinking thing.
I love that. Is there a coffee?
So,
I meant to say, is there a coffee in that? Is there a question in that? You said you were going to pose a question and throw it back at me, or is that the question?
oh, the question is just like, yeah, like what poles do you find yourself going between or like called to?
Yeah,
Or like
yeah.
how do you see um yeah, I guess like no, actually let's do that one now. I was gonna ask you is like um about naturalness.
Mm,
Um but honestly I'm in the silence.
well, I have a thread that you've inspired something in me from listening
Yeah,
to you.
please ask
As
yourself your own question.
always, as always, you always just I listen to you and then and this is that's part of fractal magic. When I'm listening to you in your genius, it unlocks something in me.
Hmm.
And then like I'll say something that then takes you onto a bit that's like and that's part of our magnetism.
Hmm.
You and me, we're like poles in a way. But when you find those poles, like you say, they're actually closer to being the same than what we think. Like on the surface, like you and I in our conversations are like poles, but
Hmm.
they weave together to make just the oneness. Like it's so cool. Um,
Right.
but something that kind of in my soul as you were talking is sort of thinking of, for me having this 15 in my culture sphere, it's very much about how like my fractal um, moves and works through my culture. And a big thing that I have come to see about that, like you were saying, how like that moving between the poles and that want to be in the bloom. A huge like transformational aspect of the 15 for me was coming to realize that I had this false belief that I could only like myself in the bloom, and
Hmm.
that like if I had a false belief that I had access to more self-love in the bloom. And so when you
Hmm.
believe that your value is connected to the moment, like that singular moment of the bloom, you that's what takes you on the fucking roller coaster ride. Because you're on the roller coaster ride because you're looking for the essential, which is worth and unconditional love. But if you
Right.
believe that it's
Hmm.
only in the bloom, it's become conditional. And so that from like a, for me, I like to reflect on 15 from a business point of view because it's our culture and like just like from a prosperity point of view. When I used to think that I could only be valuable, successful in the bloom, it blocked the true richness that wanted to move through my vocation. And so now through the 15, I recognize my value and my worth and the beauty of my work in all of its phases, in all of its cycles, in all
Yeah.
of its, and that's the naturalness. Like Jinky 15, it's like the seasons, it's the cycle of the moon, it's the tides, and it's this ability to love and honor it
Hmm.
as as fluorescence, no matter which phase it's in. And so no longer like yearning for those mountaintop moments where I can finally, okay, this is me in my purpose. And then the moment that the petals start to fall to prepare for its next bloom, now that's not me in my purpose. And so I need to scramble back to, and so it's like this full redefining of the purpose to be found in
Right.
every phase because as Richard says, everything is natural. And and the more that I have come to love myself in just that ordinariness, because that's what 15 is ultimately about. Like as we learn to love the ordinary, it becomes extraordinary. So the very thing that we were trying to avoid, thinking that it wasn't good enough, is the bloom. Like
Hmm.
the bloom happens, it's extraordinary, but it's just extraordinary. And so I've come to see that just the beauty and the prosperity is interwoven into the most ordinary, mundane of things. And as I honor that, the cycles that I move through personally, the cycles of purpose, prosperity, and love and connection. Now I'm not only placing value on one tiny moment, but the entire unfolding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great. That
Thank
I
you.
love that. Um,
Mm,
yeah, it's like the hmm, like it feels ungrounded, you know? Like that's part of the olfactory sense of like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
also like I guess like two angles from it. It's like to me then because of like the magnetism or should I say like the currents, electrical currents, magnetic currents like rolling through this jinky. Um, well there's like the yeah, it's like when we chase our should, like it feels ungrounded to
Mm,
us, you know?
mm,
And it also comes off ungrounded to other
yeah.
people that we meet, you know? So we actually
Mm-hmm.
end up like not attracting, we repel like
Mm-hmm.
the people that are um like the best uh fertilizers for
Mm-hmm.
us
Mm.
uh
What an
to sprout.
analogy, man.
Uh so it's like only like really like the only thing that like feels really grounding to be around is to be around like somebody who has like looked at those parts of themselves, you know? That's like
Yeah.
where the magnetism comes. That's like where like people are drawn to. And
Like people that trust in the process of the growth, you know?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
and even like that ungrounded, it makes me think of the rose bush I was talking about.
Right.
The ungroundedness would be as the petals fall, you go, shit, I need it. And you rip out that plant going like, this one's fucked. I need one with flowers on it. And then you go scrambling to try and look for one with flowers. Okay, no, maybe if I plant this one, then it will have flowers again because I need flowers all the time. It's like
Right.
if you just honored that plant where it was at and even pruned it back and let it go into its season, its next bloom is
Hmm.
increasingly more beautiful.
Hmm.
Like when we actually, I see this and something I used to do, and I see it in our collective where people are like, as soon as the flowers drop off, oh shit, it's wrong, it's bad. It wasn't the thing,
Right.
and we rip it out of the ground. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
a person that has deep trust in the entropy. I mean, I feel a big connection to our whole conversation to Gene Key 1, and it's very
Always.
similar to 15, like dullness, entropy, magnetism, freshness, fluorescence, beauty. I mean, they're so interconnected. Like someone who can trust deeply in their entropy and remain anchored in their own self-love in the
Right.
entropy, which is like somebody who can love themselves in the midst of their suffering, I think is the makings of a deeply magnetic person.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and this gene key, like Richard speaks the Bodhisattva,
Yes, I wrote that down too.
and when I abstract that enough, just to like, if we go back to the program thing of like the code
Hmm.
of the universe, it's just like that is like the self-correcting code of life, you know? It is like that um, part of life, of nature that is, mm, that's what I'm looking for. Uh, Self-similar, no. It's repeating in every part of itself. Uh, and it's like, it says like, I will wait for myself as long as I need to, as many
Mm,
seasons as I need to, you know?
mm,
I
mm,
can take, uh, like however long I take to bloom is
mm,
however long it takes, which
mm.
actually speeds the whole damn thing up quite a bit.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and like I actually found this one connected to the second gene key, which
Mm,
similar in the first, but like that's kind of like where I ended up surprisingly. I was like, oh, because of the G pole and like the which is from human design, I believe. Yeah.
mhm,
The it's like when the G pole is like the which every human shares, regardless of like what's activated in your profile or not, is like your heart magnet. It's
mm,
what is pulling you towards other people in your
mm,
life, towards certain experiences, towards certain
mm.
partners, towards certain foods, towards, I don't know, certain jinkies, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And certain stories. And
Mm,
it's like if we just like kind of like step back and look at magnetism for what it is, we just see it as like a fragment of deeper unity at the end of the day. And it's like our, yeah, capacity to give.
so
Like, I
beautiful.
believe that's what the audio
Yeah.
Richard talks about, like the benevolence of this gene key.
The benevolence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like, yeah, be your
Mm,
best self without
mm,
apology. Give,
mm. Mm,
without invitation.
mm, mm.
But
Oh, I love
uh,
it.
yeah, just so yeah, so it's like grounded and the art of attraction, and it's to me
Mm,
blooming in the science of motion. So
mm,
there's some real nerd shit in there because I got deep into like the laws of magnetism. But to me, it's to see that like your fractal, like what you seek, like do this ring of seeking, which is the 15th gene keys of part, is like what you seek is also seeking you.
yeah.
And that the law of attraction actually doesn't like work, like especially in like spiritual circles, like the law of attraction is um well, first of all, it's like nothing without action to meet it, or like motion towards whatever it is. And also like it doesn't really become a law, or it's the law of attraction most of the time, which says like opposites attract, which is kind of what I was like kind of pointing at before.
Mm,
It's like
mm,
we are called towards the opposite because we think it's something we lack inside ourselves,
mm,
but it's something we are some quality wish to embody or whatnot inside ourselves. But it only becomes the art of attraction once we've touched that like frequency of authenticity or naturalness inside ourselves. It's like then we can
mm,
start to, you know, radiate
yeah. Ah,
our joy.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Ugh. I'm like, what you're saying about the two, and I'm like, yes, and the two's my life's work, and the two is also in the benevolent template, is the gene key Richard chose for culture, the gene key two for the exact reasons that you were describing there about how it plays out here, and yeah, that bodhisattva piece, like there's something that I wrote down this morning as I was just kind of sitting with the energy of 15, and that one statement Richard makes in the audio where he's like the bodhisattva, it's the one who remains behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is such a beautiful aspect of fractal, is not getting so like in our path of awakening, and in our path of opening up to these mysteries inside of ourselves and accessing wisdom and all this beautiful stuff that we get to like see in the visions that we can come to be the custodians of as we're doing this work, can be easy to like almost remove yourself from society and and go and just live in the bubble of those realizations. But this
Yeah.
bodhisattva, this fractal, the fractal calls you back down off the mountain, like in Richard's meditations, returning to the village. Like the
Mm-hmm.
highest expression for us in our awakening in this time isn't to float away and live in a little bubble. Like, what was the point of unlocking all of that if it wasn't to be brought to the fractal?
Sure.
And so, like, the fractal always calls you back. And it always calls you again back into the courage, because sometimes some of the reason why we go and isolate in our vision is because we're actually afraid that people aren't going to meet us there. We're
Mm-hmm.
afraid of judgment there, and like there can be reasons why we remain up on the mountain and don't return to the village, but the fractal calls. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, it doesn't mean that it has to be everyone's path, but there are certain things to bring into the awareness around like the higher purpose of higher purpose is
No, keep
the
going. Yeah.
it is the village.
Yeah.
Like in the
Where
pearl, and it's of the I think it's of the Tao, like the 10 phases of awakening, and the ninth
the Tao.
phase,
Yeah.
the ninth phase is like source, and then the 10th phase is return to the village.
Sure.
And I think that
Um,
that's the ordinariness. It calls us back to the ordinary. It's like that's where it belongs,
hmm.
because that's where it is truly magnetic. We are most magnetic when we walk amongst the ordinariness and we remember that we ourselves are ordinary. And I think that being in the ring of seeking, we go through as seekers, we go through these phases. A phase that you hit in your seeking is thinking that you're better than everyone. A phase that you hit in your seeking is thinking that you've uncovered the secret and that, Richard went through a phase in his journey where he thought he might be the Messiah. Like, we all have these phases in part of our seeking that eventually bring us back to the, and like what you were saying at the start, bring us back to the family, bring us back to honoring where we came from, bring us back to, and ultimately it wants to bring us back to the fractal because that's where the higher purpose was meant for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, first of all, thank you. That was lovely. Um, like the Bodhi, um, Sattva code. It's like the Christ code, you know? We
Mm,
we always like we think about you think about magnetism of the soul, you know? It's like whenever we go through this ring of seeking, we tap on that like through the lens of Jinkies, like uh I think I said before, it's like these three source codes. And one of them being the Christ code. We connect to this vibration of love, you know, that um
mm. Where
echoes
God,
across space and time and um
mm,
yeah, it equalizes
mm,
the opposing forces.
yeah,
Um,
where God chose to move in this world as a human.
right.
Like
And it's
that's
like
like
at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, ordinary, very or the
ordinary.
height of ordinariness, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah. The highest form of spirituality is groundedness in the ordinary.
right. Or like I think Richard says it's like, you know, at best, like spirituality can just be a hobby. At best. I love
Mm.
that. I think that's
Mm.
like
Or even in what was it? Was it Jinky 51? One of the recent ones, how he's like, we mistake like spirituality isn't awakening. Like spirituality is more like a little hobby that you have on the side. Like
right,
it's not spirituality. Like it's not. They're just practices that you might feel drawn to, but that's not awakening. Awakening happens in the ordinary
right.
when you wake up to the fact that you are God in human form, walking around the earth to have an experience and
Mm.
to be in that love,
It's a
We're coming to the end of our little time together
yeah, you
today.
got the time. I can't see anything. So it's like
Yeah, we're approaching on 90 minutes.
oh
Um,
cool. Do you have
wow.
yeah, and it's like when we are brave enough to actually like turn towards the dullness
Mm,
or which is like another way to say like to like live in a magnetic sort of way. I've been thinking about this a lot as like um and it really speaks to like the whole mission of like what I think one of the missions of like what spirituality is for and like what tools like the gene keys are for. It's like to become someone that you look up to, you know, in your everyday life. To become
mm,
like a role model, like which is ultimately like what that Christ code is about, is like walking as the way or the Tao,
Mm.
the way is the way is the way. And
Where's the way
uh
is the way?
uh yeah, it's like when we do that, like when we live in that sort of like magnetic way in a way that like we would really like not idolize, but like our ideal, we like, that field, our magnetic field, our aura, our electricity, our genius, like it explodes. And it's like that fluorescence. And then that doesn't just end like when we die. Like it's like our life
Mm,
also ripples into like everyone
mm,
around us. Um,
yeah, yeah. Our fractal goes far beyond this lifetime. It's the fractal has been moving since the dawn of time and will not stop moving. Like it's
mhm,
and that's where like it breaks us out of our self-obsession of the shadow of the 10.
right,
Where in self-obsession, we're wanting to gather the fractal simply so that we can feel better. We want to gather the fractal so that we can be seen to be successful. We want to gather the fractal so that I can have my lot in life. But when you really like surrender into the gift frequencies of the 10 and the 15, it's like you don't have to abandon yourself because it's still rooted in like this yearning for seeking and all the things, but it's no longer about what you thought it was about in your mind. It's about something so much deeper, broader, vaster, and
right.
something, yeah, something natural.
You find that your healing is also fractal,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is a whole other discussion, but
It is. The most
over
healing
time.
that you will ever access in your Gene Key profile is on the Pathway of Service. I would die on that hill.
Oh my God, well, you can't just like leave me on that. I want to know.
I
And
think
that's
that's
that's the
the ultimate place.
what that's the brand to vocation?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that full embodiment of the Taurus. And that's where the ultimate healing happens through service. But through
Mm.
true service, not through selfishness, which is the shadow state of that path, which most of us are on without knowing that we're on it. It's so juicy.
Well, I can't disagree with that. I'm
Oh,
interested in that statement though, that it's the deepest groove of
mm,
healing.
mm,
I can see that, especially as it is a really a well, sorry, I'm thinking in terms of the profile now. Like which part mirrors which part and like the Pearl sequence from the Venus sequence into the
yeah. I think that the
okay.
Venus prepares us for that moment in time of, you know, we gotta we gotta heal up some little bits and pieces enough so that we can truly stand in that courage of the vocation. And as we kind of step deeper and deeper into that, the Venus preceded the ability to like come to that like
Yeah.
I feel another YouTube video in the future.
Yeah.
Possibly
Those are
about
cool.
we're gonna have so many just beautiful conversations here. And this is, my spirit, my soul so excited about just getting together in this way to chat about what we love so dearly. And like this, like we said right at the beginning, and then we've had this beautiful conversation about fractals. This is fractal magic because it's two souls having the courage to come together and nerd out and just to stand boldly in what we love. And for those of you who found your way here and are watching this replay, and this is, the beauty of YouTube is that you get to find this replay possibly years later. Like
That is
it's
cool.
just such a beautiful possibility of frequency to dwell in. And so if you have joined us today watching this, thank you so much.
Mm.
And we're looking forward to connecting with you, and we're looking forward to just seeing where the current takes us, my
Oh, that was
friend.
good. That was such a good one.
We're
That was such a good current.
just gonna see where it takes us, and where, if you feel drawn into that current and you want to float down the stream with us, welcome, our fractal
Mm.
friends. Welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
No matter when or where or how,
Hmm.
you're tuning in. And thank you to anybody that's in the chat. I can't see it because I'm just staring at my Zoom screen right now. But if you're in
Jackie
that
has
chat,
been with
thank you.
us. Jackie
Thank you,
has been with
Jackie.
us.
You're the
Thank you
best.
so much, Jackie. Talking about fractal magic.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to end the stream on the YouTube side. So we'll say goodbye to all of you in YouTube land, and then Lawrence, you and I can say a goodbye to each other after the stream.
Cool.
Thank you so much, everyone. We'll chat to you soon.
Peace.
All right. That is our first